And so, if you will, just tune in, tap in. There is a power and a presence right here, right now, that is greater than any circumstance, mightier than any condition. And as you just tune into that Spirit of God, just know that there's not a spot where God is not. And within that essence of God is great peace. And therefore, there's not a peace that is absent anywhere in the world. And so we just call forth and know that that peace is present, always present. Imagine, if you will, that that peace just enters in to your mind like a big ball of light. And this is a peace that is beyond all understanding, bringing you such peace of mind. We ask for this peace to just lift and release any thoughts that may be not in coherence with peace. And they're just lifted, they're released, they're dissolved, purifying your mind. Allow that peace now to just settle in through your eyes, your throat, your ears, shining through your eyes so that you only see peaceful things. You only hear peaceful things. And you only speak words that bring peace. And just imagine that ball of great peace just entering now into your heart. And any emotions that may not be peaceful are just simply dissolved. And there's just this overwhelming sense of great bliss and joy, nothing to worry about. You are in the presence of peace. Allow that peace, that light, to just permeate throughout every cell of your being, all the way down through your feet, grounding you to Mother Earth. Cleansing, purifying your body. So now your body is healthy, whole, and full of vitality. Anything that is not peaceful in your body just simply is gone, disappears. For peace and God are greater than any circumstance, mightier than any condition. Take a moment, if you will, to bless each person here and those online as we just send a blessing of great peace, magnifying what is right here. And now, as we slowly and gently start to come back into the awareness of being right here, we come back with grateful hearts, and we come back with a peace of mind that is greater than what we can ever imagine. For this, we are so grateful. And so it is. Amen.
Oh, wasn't that absolutely wonderful? So let me ask you, do you already feel like you're grateful that you came today? Yes. Are you grateful that you came today? Yes. Let's give our Unity Voices a great big hand, and Noreen Brocky and our team. And you get to experience a day that's been worked on many hours behind the scenes. So let's breathe that in, yes? And so the phone rings. And the voice on the other end says, hello. And the other person says, well, can I speak with the woman of the home, please? She's busy. Okay, well, could I speak to the man of the house, please? He's busy too. Well, I hear someone talking, and they're talking to the policeman. Oh, my word. Well, could you get the policeman to come to the phone? They're talking, all of them, to the fireman. Oh, this is ridiculous. What in the world is going on? They're looking for me. They're looking for me. I love that story. And when we think of life events, tragedy, change, experiences, that is really ultimately on a larger scale metaphysically of what is happening. There's more of you yet to come out. There's more of your heart yet to open up. There's more of your being yet and your potential yet to be realized. In my book, I would call that spiritual relocation. Some spiritual relocations you can plan for. Like when myself and my wife got the message 8 times in 6 weeks, you're to move to Santa Barbara. Pop, well, here we are. That's a planned spiritual relocation of son or daughter going to college, a life event. A lot of them are planned, even dying. I mean, I think we get it by now that that's going to happen to us. But yet the spirit of the relocation factor is the fact that it's different in our head experiencing something versus the witness of it and going through it. Yes? The spiritual relocations, those moments, those shock moments, the unexpected moments, the beauty of it on the other side, if we can travel with it, is we are able to relinquish and let go of the falsehood called control. Many people have referred to that as the dark night of the soul. And the dark night of the soul is not like life, a one-time event. Everybody breathe in. Today, we're talking about finding the good in goodbye. Finding the good in goodbye and the energy of that experience. Many of you know that 10 days ago, my mother died. And I have been on my own journey with that experience. But as I have been walking through the valley of the shadow of death, as I have been in that space, I was thinking about how fortunate I feel that I am part of Unity. How fortunate I feel that I am part of a teaching that shows and shares with us how in the space of life we can find the good in goodbye. We can know that life is calling us to be more, not less. And I was reflecting upon, as a group of people were visiting the house, I was saying what really shifted for me a lot, even though I've always been radically positive, motivated person, et cetera, looked at the glass always half full. Do we have any of you here? And in that space, but what really shifted me was the unexpected shock of the death of my dad when he was 65. And he died. He thought he had the flu. He was going to the hospital, and he died. And it literally blew me away because we had a lot of undone. So unlike my mother, with my dad, I had a lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas. And wishing and, all of those things that we project on ourselves that eliminates and protects us from finding the good in goodbye at some point. But what happened with me is my heart, my chest cavity felt like it opened up. I felt like I realized for the first time that country music songs that talk about your heartache, I thought they did that just to sell music. It's real, because grief is in the cavity of your rib cage, and that's where grief stores. That's why unconsciously, even today, people knowing I'm talking about finding the good in goodbye, a lot of people have been coughing because we're clearing that vibration. And so in that space, that was a big message with my dad, because I remember saying, I don't think I'll ever be the same. I don't think I'll ever be okay. This is knocked the wind out of my sails. I don't think I'll be all right. And in a time or two, I looked in the mirror and I went, what am I saying? I'm Temple Hayes, Unity student and teacher. Hello. No, I won't be the same. You know why? I'm going to be more. I'm going to have more energy than I've ever had. I'm going to have more essence than I've ever known. My aura is expanding now. Say that with me. My aura is expanding now. I'm going to make my dad so proud, because I'm going to show people how to still live surrounded by dying. And that became my life work. So the literal of my father physically passing became the work that I do. Because, see, in culture and societal beliefs, they don't teach that. Things happen to you, and you just keep showing up. Things happen to you, and you just pray it away, or you have somebody call you from up north or East Coast and say, well, honey, God doesn't give you any more than you can handle. And you just keep walking on the journey called life till eventually you just kind of flop and fall over because you're just worn out. And that is not the real truth. You see, if a lot of people tell you the truth, you're a sex, I don't know. Dad, you just stay out of this now. Oh my God. Oh my God, oh my God. All right, so the reason that, Kathy, stop. The reason that our culture does not teach us this way is because it's commercialization. Because we won't buy the products, because we won't spend the money, because we won't use external things to fix us. We have within us an automatic anesthetizing system that numbs us to walk through things, and we have an automatic system that brings forth more energy in our body with whatever we are facing. It's an awareness. It's called waking up. It's called creating a template for yourself as an intentional spirit, so that will be so. So whatever it is right now, are any of you carrying anything? Two of you that want to admit that. If you decide and project as an intentional spirit that in a month you are going to gain all the energy back in your body that you've ever had, the energy of your birth, it will be so for you, and it will be your truth. Yes? Elizabeth Blackwell was the first female physician in the United States. And she said, being a pioneer was exhilarating and at times frightening, but yet well worth it. And that's why I'm calling all of you as my sacred friends together today to say that we are pioneers. We are pioneers in the world of how to support people when they're going through loss or change. Because in my experience, very few people know how. Are you with me? They immediately going into talking about themselves, they feel uncomfortable, they want to share stories, they want to give you advice, they want to do that, they want to do this. When really it's like the Hopi elder method that says, I just want to sit with you while you are walking through this. I just want to sit with you while you're walking through this. Say that with me. I just want to sit with you while you're walking through this. And underneath that is a lighthouse. You hold this incredible anticipation because you know that person on the other side of this big rock is going to be able to fly. It's so powerful and so fascinating. There's a story, an ancient story of a beggar at the gate. And at this gate, he sees a sign that they're having a party for the king. And he says to the guardsman, he says, I want to come to the party. I need to speak to the king. And the man says, no. And he goes, but I want to come to the party. Let me speak to the king. And so in that, he walks. The guard goes to the king and says, there's this man and he won't leave. He keeps insisting that he talk to you. And he said, oh, bring him on. If he's that courageous, bring him to me. So the king looks at this beggar and he says, what do you need? How can I serve you? And the beggar says, I want to come to your party. But look at me. I don't have the clothing. And the king says, well, I have a son about your age. And he said, I'm going to call my son and you go in the back and he will clothe you. So he goes to the back with the son and his son gives him the most beautiful outfit belonging to a prince that you could ever dream of. And he looks in the mirror and he's just glowing. He's so enamored and like, wow, this is me. And then he looks back at his old raggy clothes. And he runs over and he grabs them. And he holds on to them. And so at the dinner party, there's that beggar holding on to those old raggy clothes rather than shining in the glory of who he is and the new life that was before him. He hung on. He wasn't known as a man that manifested and had clothes from a prince. He was known as a man holding on to the old rags. And this is the part for you to do your inner work of what part do you hold on to? What bag do you carry related to something, some loss, some change, some moment, some experience? Integrate it into your being. In shamanic work, when I gather with people to do soul retrieval, I often see past stuff that's happened. I see imagery of what's happened. But what really stands out often are people that have unresolved issues with memorials and funerals and forgiveness and letting go and hanging on and not letting go. I was doing a memorial where I used to serve at First Unity, and we seated 400. And not to impress you, but just to give you an idea, and that particular day it was really, really full for this particular service. And there was a family that was seated there with a little baby. And that baby was crying and crying and crying, and the parents were embarrassed. And there was someone singing, and I watched them exit and go in the lobby. And I went out there with them. And I looked at the baby, and I held the baby's foot. And I didn't know them, so I was honoring their boundaries. But I said, honey, thank you for crying for us today. Thank you for crying for us today. See, you remember how. but just about everybody else in that room has forgotten. Father and mother of this child, would you please bring the baby back and allow the baby to hold the space? Because we as adults, we have forgotten what it's like to be within our feelings. We say we are made in the image and likeness of the universe. We say we are spirituality integrates more of our humanity. But let's talk about real, raw, vulnerable feelings and what can happen. Yes? Are you with me? Is this working for you? This isn't, disco dancing today. I can do that. But this is what allows us to disco dance. This is what helps eliminate arthritis, fibromyalgia, a lot of the body aches and pains, because we either do the work, and I'm not saying one size fits all. So if your mind is already arguing with me, well, you don't know, and that's not what mine's from. Stop. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying in many cases, red energy that I can see in a person's body is undone stuff, is blocking the flow. If you go, well, I don't know if I'm blocking a flow, I'm not even sure, then just say, I choose to live life with an open heart. Say that with me. I choose to live life with an open heart. And that's all you really have to do. Because you'll be talking to somebody, or you'll witness an experience of someone else, and it will be your sacred story, and you will have an epiphany, and you will be healed. Obviously, we cannot go home and say, I'm ready to do it all right now, bring it on. No, it doesn't work that way. It's organic, but very, very powerful. My first Unity teacher, I loved her so much. Her name was Beverly. Still is, I imagine. She kept it in the afterlife. But I just loved her. I was 19 when I met her, and she was 29. And so I was like, I did everything there. I helped, I signed up for everything because I knew I wanted to be her one day. Not like her, but be a minister. And it just blew me away. So short of the story, she died when I was 30. So she was 40, and I could not believe that she had died. Have any of you ever done that with great leaders or teachers or healers? You're like, but they're not supposed to die, let alone be sick, right? Because they're supposed to be healer people. So you deal with different layers of it. But it was interesting for me because by the time she had died, about 20 people close to me had died. I'm one of those. It's my life path, yes. And so it was like I had the tools that I knew to use, but I couldn't stop grieving her deeply. And I'd go to specialists and I'd go here, and 8 years later, I'm still grieving. And one day I went, you know what? It's going to be as long as it's going to be. I don't want to hear one more person tell me that I ought to get over it. I don't want to hear one more person tell me, but you're Unity. I don't want to hear one more person tell me, well, you're not really dead. And all the things that come from those conversations. I will be in this space, and I will cry, and I will weep, and all that. And within a month, I had a pager. Does anyone here remember what that is? My pager starts sounding in the night, and it said, please call 111. Her birthday was January the 11th. 111. Each phone I bought, my phone would go off, unbeknownst to me, please call 111. Beverly was there. I pull out from where I lived, there was a big banner, grand opening, Beverly's Antiques. You can't make this stuff up. Everywhere present, and there it would be. And I did a vision board one time, and then I talked to a psychic a few weeks later, and she said, you remember the woman that's with you? I remember her name is Beverly, right? She's going to welcome you in the afterlife when you go. She's going to be waiting there for you. And she said to tell you the car you put on your vision board you're going to have. It's a veil, a thin line. What am I saying to you, though? Because I could tell you stories for longer than you would be willing to sit here. What am I saying? I'm saying that the gift came of eternal life when I was comfortable being in the process of witnessing what life is for me. We block the gifts because we're unwilling to feel the energy. Albert Einstein would say that great spirits encounter violent opposition from mediocre minds. And we tend to think about people we encountered in our life when we read that statement. But what about our own? What about our own mediocrity? What about our own? I was thinking about, isn't it great that a baby isn't born as an adult? I mean, this is twisted, and I'm not going to talk about sex. I don't know where that came from. But you really think about that with truth. You think about that. Because if a baby was born as an adult, that baby would crawl and never learn to walk. Are you with me? Do you know how many times the two fears of natural fears for us in our humanity is the fear of falling and fear of loud noise? The rest we decide what they are. And here's a baby that falls and hits their head on the coffee table. And, you see some babies that the parents succumb to almost like a football helmet because they're so determined to walk and they keep falling. But they keep doing it. They keep feeling the feeling and they keep walking forward. Thus they can walk. How many of you wouldn't wear shoes because they hurt your feet and you're refusing to wear them? But you wear them, why? So you will stretch them out because ultimately they will be comfortable. Are you with me? And so it's the expanded self, not less than. We have the potential, each and every one of us, that when we do cross over, we can have the energy of a 20-something-year-old. And if you don't feel that's true for you, it's because there's integration that needs to happen in your life. Because it is true and can be true. It's not the number of your years, it's the years that you've walked through the number of events. Everybody breathe? I feel like I'm preaching today. Hallelujah. Thank you. There's a story in the Bible that talks about Nicodemus, and he revered Jesus and revered his teaching. And he said, "Teacher, oh Master, oh mighty, oh wise one, tell us, how do you get to be you? How is it possible? You're doing all these miracles and you're amazing and you're blowing our sandals off." They didn't wear socks back then. How do you do it? And he goes, "You must be willing to be born again." And he goes, "What? Like, I gotta be an adult and get back in my mom's womb?" And Jesus goes, "No, you must be willing to be born of the Spirit. Free flow of the Spirit. There's human law, but there's spiritual law. And life is forever giving of itself if we take." I have a slide for you today. Let's read this together. Eventually, one must integrate the good in goodbye with whatever has happened to you, or you will continue to say goodbye to parts of yourself. The best is yet to come. Your greatest days you have not lived. Your magic and wonder is awaiting you. You can be like me. I heard someone say today, it was great wisdom. I think it was Kathy. Yes? Okay. Is that I am being born again. With my mother dying, I'm being birthed now into someone else, carrying a lot of me with me. I really feel like there's a new level of the cord that has been the invisible one, but that it has been cut. And I talk to my mom a lot. But I most of all do not want to deny or cheat myself of the feelings that I have when they come. I've earned them. You have earned your right to feel all those things. It's what makes you magical. It's what keeps your heart open and living bold and brave and energetically. Wow, how amazing. I was interviewed on Lifetime television one time, and they said, Reverend Temple, what is it? What is it related to self-esteem? Is it nature or is it nurture? It's both. It's both. Nature gives us a genius capacity. Nature gives us magic and miracles, as Mary Ann Williamson would say. We're not really afraid of the darkness. We're more concerned with our capabilities and possibilities. Mary Ann, forgive me. I know you said it better. But that being said, in that energetic field of that, it's the nurture component that keeps us lined up with our natural selves. That when you die, you can just go to sleep and close your eyes and check out, but you'll have the same energy you came here with. My mother did just that. I wanted my mother to get involved with metaphysics, and in the last 10 years of her life, I realized she was one of the most metaphysical people I had ever met. When we open to who someone really is, it means that we've opened to who we really are, and we can see the magic of their lives. So in closing, I'm going to give you a story of a little boy who's 5, who's now walking to kindergarten. And his mom says, you can't go by yourself, Tommy, I'll go with you. So for about a couple of weeks, then Nancy walks her son Tommy to kindergarten. And one day Tommy said, Mommy, I don't want you to come with me anymore. I'm a big boy. I don't want you to be walking with me. So she took a big breath and she thought, well, what can I do? Oh, I know my friend. And she walks in the morning with her little girl. And well, I'll ask her to discreetly kind of keep an eye on him while he's walking, just to make sure that he's safe. So for about a week, Tommy and Ronnie are walking to school. And Ronnie says to Tommy, have you noticed all week this woman, this little girl, they're following you? Have you noticed? He said, oh yeah, I know they're there. I do. He said, well, here's the thing. Every night my mom reads to me Psalms 23. And she tells me every night, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. So I just have to get used to it. Surely goodness and mercy. It is following you. Open your heart. Be willing to let your story change. Hold the template of truly allowing your aura, that light, that Christ crown, to glow within you. You can have that while at the same time walking through the other and on the journey, because it will follow you all your life. Surrender to it and allow the phenomenal love to be in your heart. Don't cheat yourself of who you are. Thank you for listening. Thank you. Thank
you. Nice. That is, you preached to me. You were